I'm just running this Airbnb here today. I'm going to talk about Airbnb security because I get asked about it all the time. And stay to the end because I'm going to tell you a crazy story about how some friends got robbed of their Airbnb, and I actually happen to be right next door, and I didn't get robbed, and you're going to see why. So first, when you are getting an Airbnb, obviously drive the neighborhood. It takes 2 seconds, meaning when you're pulling up to the neighborhood, go around the block and make sure you're not in the world's biggest dump and you need to go somewhere else. I once had a relative who rented a dumpy place, and she was a single woman, and she said she stayed there the first night and then finally left because she was so scared, it was so dangerous. And I said, why didn't you just not go there in the first place? I get it, we're all cheap, we don't want to lose money, but if you drive up and it's like Baltimore City, Maryland, where I used to live in, one block is super nice, but the very next block can be highly dangerous and you don't feel comfortable, well, find another Airbnb. And of course, price is often the clue. If it's $15 for a place, probably not that good, and you want to pony up a little more money. So I'm looking, when I get to a place, okay, what does the neighborhood look like? Here we're in a small town USA, so neighborhood's fine. I don't see anything that's crazy. I don't see anything that makes me nervous or any of those blue light camera things that are in Baltimore City. So neighborhood's fine, no concerns there. Of course, when I come up to the Airbnb, I'm gonna see, do they have any security themselves? And I just got here, so we haven't even really looked much. So if I'm looking across this Airbnb, one thing, and make sure the camera can see this, that jumps out, and so they've got a camera here, so they have a little bit of security, and it looks like motion sensor lights, so that way you're not gonna be totally in the dark. It is connected. This particular one is, the thing we rented, and we're not actually staying here, is this small room here. There's a connection here. So another thing to be aware of, you rent, and I would never rent a guest room where you're living in somebody's house kind of thing, but if you rent a place next door and the very next door people next to you are having a good time and might be having a meth lab or whatever, again, that's what the FBI calls a clue, and you may want to get out of there and get yourself a safer place. Your life is worth it. So as we get closer here, what do I see? Well, we got the screen door. Doesn't look like it has any locks on it. Nothing fancy here. You could easily rip that off. As I go in here, I see an electronic lock. Well, here's what I know. This lock looks a bit older. If they ask you the last 4 digits of your phone number, that means they're changing the lock each time. So anybody that stays at Airbnbs frequently, they'll say, okay, your code is 1234, the last 4 digits, your phone number, right? They did not ask us for this. So how do you know that the people are changing this often? Because obviously human beings are lazy, so they may not change this, but once a month, once a week, once a year, who knows? Obviously other people could have the code here, which is not a great thing. Also, I noticed they have a peephole. I like peepholes. I'm gonna go to the other side. Peepholes are a good idea, and guess what? This peephole doesn't work. Make sure it's not a reverse peephole, too. Okay, no. So the peephole doesn't work. That doesn't help. There's something wrong with it there. I can't see through. But I do like peepholes. Again, I would recommend getting them because you can clearly see who's on the other side if you can't peek out a window to see who's knocking on your door. But never ever open that door if you cannot verify who's there and see them. So peephole is useless to me. Let's go on in here, see what else. At least they have shades. That's always a nice thing because I have been in places where the whole world can see in, and I hate that. I always want to be able to close up and not have the world staring at me, whatever I'm doing. Fun story, when we were in high school, we would go around the neighborhood and people who did not have their shades down, we had a universal remote and we turned off their TV. That was a good time. They took a while to figure out what was going on with that. Let's see what else we got in here. Windows. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Remember I told you I'm going to tell you a crazy story? Whenever I go, I don't admittedly stay in Airbnbs that often, hardly ever. I'm a hotel guy. But I'm gonna check the windows. So here we got windows, it's locked, I can't get it out. A couple years ago, my in-laws, and I can't remember if this was when I say a couple years ago, probably close to 10 years ago, but my in-laws rented a place on the beach, and it was either for Christmas or Thanksgiving, probably Christmas. So at night, I would go around to the Airbnb we were at, make sure all the windows were locked, check and make sure the front door was locked and all that kind of stuff. Because half the time somebody was leaving a window open because of the beach or they were leaving a door unlocked, and they would make fun of me for going and checking the windows each night. Well, after I done this and made sure all the windows are locked, the next morning, my brother-in-law came to me and said, did you hear what happened? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you know, so-and-so John and Susie, the next door neighbors, Somebody robbed their place last night. They crawled in through an open window and stole a bunch of money, stole whatever fancy electronics they had while they were asleep in their bed. Fortunately, didn't harm them, but stole a bunch of stuff. Well, guess what? Nobody got into our place because I locked the doors, I locked the windows. So whenever you're staying at an Airbnb, when you first get in there, check the windows. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a place when I'm doing a home security audit for people, and I go check the windows and half the windows are unlocked. Not a good thing. So that is a simple security measure you can take to do that. You're not gonna have a whole lot of privacy here at this Airbnb, not the world's best doors or anything like that. Let's see what else we got here. Not a whole bunch of places to see here. And then got the bathroom, same thing on the bathroom. There's a window in the corner. I would check, where's the light in this place? I would check that window to make sure, and I haven't checked that yet because we got in here. Let's just check it here while we're doing it. So I lift it up. Oh, and guess what? There we go, see? I would check that, and obviously it is not locked. So I would lock it, especially if I was staying here and my wife and kids were staying here with me. And then I would check closets and drawers for the boogeyman and all that kind of stuff, but all we got is toilet paper. So take the time to do simple things. I mean, really, what does it take to go check and make sure windows are locked? 5 minutes, if that, if you're staying in a huge house. So yes, Airbnbs are super popular, but take a moment to think about the neighborhood, about the locks, about, hey, it's a generic lock and they didn't ask me for my last 4 digits. When is the last time they actually changed this? Is the creepy neighbor next door the guy who has the code and he's gonna be on top of me in the middle of the night? Hopefully not. So some tips for you for Airbnb, stay safe.